go-to. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Ask me how we got here, 'cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries as we'll fall now. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow.
What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another episode of the Transfer Show with me, JSGC. Before I do crack on with today's live stream, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, please leave a thumbs up. 100 likes is the aim, so any help towards that would be much appreciated. Also, don't forget as well to let me know your thoughts. If you're watching this after the video has the live stream's ended, then let me know in the comments below. If you're watching this live right now, then do feel free to say hello. Also, don't forget as well, social media links are in the description too if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok link. Email also in the description too if you want to go and hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Also, don't forget as well to press that subscribe button, as we're now less than 250 subscribers away from my goal of 32,000 subscribers. So, transfer window done, dusted, it's closed. We don't have to speak about potential incomings and outgoings with Manchester City on a daily basis after tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be my final Manchester City transfer video of the summer series that will end. It's been over 100 videos that we've put out this summer of daily Manchester City transfer content. So firstly, I do hope you did enjoy that. And also, it's our final episode of the transfer show for the summer 2023 season. And we will be back in the winter window. Do some more episodes of the transfer shows. I know you guys have really enjoyed these videos, so I'll look to try and do them in the winter window as well. So looking forward to that. So the transfer window has closed. Man City aren't going to be bringing anybody in, and I'm not expecting Man City to sell anybody, even though there are some transfer windows still open in Europe and around the world. Saudi Arabia, a big one, their window still open, and I know Mo Salah at Liverpool still getting linked with the exit door. But in terms of Manchester City, all business has been complete. So we've already done our roundup. I've already rated Man City's transfer window. We had a transfer update out yesterday, so it means now as we're heading to the final episode of the transfer show, rather than me sit here and waffle on and speak about stuff that I've already spoken about, I thought actually what we're going to have a look at now is, as we head towards January with Kevin de Bruyne's injury and heading more prominently towards the summer transfer window for next year, Kevin de Bruyne is getting no younger. He's going to be 33 years old. He's obviously not been best lucky when it comes to his injuries. And there is every possibility that Kevin de Bruyne could well not get over this hamstring injury that he's had now for months. And he's going to be out for another 4 months from now. He's not expected to be back until at the very, very earliest January. I'm not expecting really to see Kevin de Bruyne until we get to the last 16 of the Champions League, should Manchester City get there, which I'm fully expecting City to do so. And Kevin de Bruyne, there is a possibility that he may never be the same. And with that being the case, all of a sudden it leaves things very short for Manchester City. So I thought today we're going to have a look at potentially who could be that long-term Kevin de Bruyne replacement. And if we've already got that ready-made replacement in the likes of Phil Foden or a Bernardo Silva or somebody already in the Man City squad, what direction may we head in as we head towards the potential of the winter transfer window and, of course, the summer transfer window as well? And already getting some comments in there about who City should be looking at. Nam, thanks very much for tuning in, says Eze at Crystal Palace or Florian Wirtz over at Bayer Leverkusen would be his choice for a replacement for Kevin de Bruyne. Mr. Roll-Up, thanks for tuning in, saying Florian Wirtz would be his ideal selection to replace Kevin de Bruyne in the long term. Patrick says no replacement for Kevin de Bruyne. And Patrick, actually, I want to second that opinion. To me, there is no like-for-like replacement for Kevin de Bruyne. For what Kevin de Bruyne has done for Manchester City, he is an exceptional talent. And in my opinion, he cannot be replaced. A player as good as what Kevin de Bruyne is can't be replaced at Manchester City. But what Man City may choose to do is choose to go for a midfielder who maybe offers something a little bit different to what we've already got, who can sit in that deeper role, or more importantly, can push themselves a little bit further forward as well. And I think the biggest thing we've got here, whilst we've not got Kevin de Bruyne because he's out injured, and in the long term, I think Man City needs to be thinking about who's going to be them players creating them opportunities, who's going to be replacing them assists, because Kevin de Bruyne is a solid 10 to 20 assists consistently in the Premier League season upon season. That is a key creative player that in Manchester City need to sort out. And it'll be interesting to see how we do from now until Kevin de Bruyne comes back and how we replace them assists. Man City have always been a case of should a key important individual be injured at Man City rely on their squad to really pull them through, and they do it really well. We saw it with Ruben Diaz injured. The defence, City start to tinker with it and see what works and what doesn't. We've seen it with the injury to Kevin de Bruyne. City will start to tinker with that midfield to see what works and what doesn't. And should Haaland, touch wood, hopefully doesn't pick up any injuries, but if he does, I'd bet a bottom dollar that Pep Guardiola would be rotating that team, trying things to see what works and what doesn't. And I think that'll be the direction City look for when it comes to potentially replacing Kevin de Bruyne, because there's going to be no pound for pound, like for like replacement, but you can go out there and sign somebody who may offer something a little bit different to what we've already got. And let's not forget, City have already added to their midfield. Matheus Nunes transfer deadline day, £55 million signing. Mateo Kovacic just under £30 million. City have invested in that midfield. Yeah, I still feel like Man City aren't completely happy. We were willing to spend up to 95 million pound on Declan Rice. We was prepared to pay what Real Madrid paid for Jude Bellingham, over 100 million pound. This is offering something maybe a little bit different to what Man City already have. So very much a case that City are in the market. It's just about who are Man City prepared to invest that money in when it comes to a central midfielder, because Kevin de Bruyne is the player in our midfield who will be, in my opinion, the next player to leave Manchester City when it comes to leaving because of age, because that's just how Man City are. We've had nearly a decade of Kevin de Bruyne, and it's been a brilliant decade that we've had. But Man City need to be, they're always looking to be nice and fresh in the market. They're always looking to try and freshen up the squad and look for the next big talents. That's why they were looking at Jude Bellingham, because Bellingham would have brought fresh energy to Man City's midfield, a player that Man City could build their midfield around for the next 10 years. And I think that might just be something City choose to go for, rather than just nitpicking around at Premier League players and looking for a bit of depth, which, no offence to Eze at Crystal Palace, is what I feel like he would be at Man City. He'd very much be a high-quality squad player. And I'm not convinced that that is what City are looking for. And I think that's what Matheus Nunes is going to be as well, a good squad player for Manchester City. But I'm on about here, Man City spending big to be that midfielder that City can build that midfield around when it comes to creating opportunities and attacking for Manchester City as well. So we'll see what direction City choose to go in for. Boy Racer, thanks very much for tuning in. Says there isn't a replacement for Kevin de Bruyne, but one day there is going to be a player that we need in that position. Which player will it be that Man City want to choose to go for? And that's what we're here to talk about. So Boy Racer hitting the nail on the head there, absolutely, in Man City needing to. And what I didn't want City to do in this window was, once we missed out on Bellingham and missed out on Declan Rice, it was very obvious Man City weren't looking at other central midfielders. They've added to their squad, brilliant. But we haven't identified that player that's going to be that long-term replacement, that player that we can build our midfield around. We haven't identified that player. And what we've done now is added to our squad, so we've now got time. May not even come in the next 12 months. It could be in 2 years, in 24 months. But that does not mean Man City won't be having a look right now, because 100% they will. They're looking at who are the best young creative midfielders in the world, and Man City will have the pick of the talent that they're looking for. And you mark my words, when Man City get around to looking for that player and signing that player, it's going to be a very big, very expensive transfer. And that's the exciting part of the transfers. They don't just appear out of nowhere and get completed over the course of weeks when it comes to big signings. It takes months and months and months of research and preparation to get that sorted. So I reckon it's going to be really busy when it comes to linking City with central midfielders still, even over the next 12 to 24 months, which is great for my channel. It keeps me very busy and keeping you guys up to date. Martin saying, Wirtz, a lot of people shouting out Florian Wirtz. The stance on him at this moment in time this season, certainly not leaving Bayer Leverkusen. He wants to focus on staying in Germany, getting himself into that German national team, ready for the 2024 European Championships. After that, he may be open to a move. He would be very expensive by a Leverkusen to be asking for a very big fee. Brian says, realistically, we're looking at Florian Wirtz, but his dream would be Musiala over at Bayern Munich. Musiala would be a brilliant, cracking player to go and add to our team. Kim, thanks very much for tuning in. Says City did very well in the transfer window. I think so. City addressed everything that needed to be addressed. We missed out on some top targets, but we didn't sulk. We didn't not replace the players that needed to be replaced. We got the business done in a prompt, good manner, without overspending, without getting ripped off, and got a good deal. We strove a hard bargain. Players that were unhappy and wanted to leave have left. Players that were happy to commit their future to City have done so. So, yeah, I think it's been a solid window for Man City. The only thing that stopped it from being the perfect window is what we're speaking about here, which is looking for that player that we can build our midfield around. We haven't brought that player in, but we've addressed everything that needs to be addressed. I think City now are in a really good position heading into the season. If we can keep everybody injury-free, I think Man City could go on to potentially have equally just as successful a season this season as what we had last season and trying to win the treble. Do I expect Man City to win a treble? Absolutely not. But it's certainly very doable for Manchester City. And City have done a good job, I think, in the window so far. Sanders saying Florian Wirtz is their pick. Florian Wirtz, a very popular player, it seems. Neil saying he's going to be a very hard player to replace. Definitely, 100%. And Kim, speaking about what I was thinking about before, which is realistically, if Man City choose to not add a player, we already have a ready-made player in Phil Foden. It's a big season coming up for Phil Foden. And that's why I said I think Pep's going to rotate. He's going to try different things in Man City's midfield to try and test to see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jack Grealish playing in that Kevin de Bruyne role at some point, even if it's just for one cup game, just for Man City to have an idea of how these players are performing in the long term. There's always a player out there that Man City adapt to. You don't think about who Man City get them to do a really good job. Nathan Ake has been a real standout player that's been that's capable of adapting himself. And everyone's been speaking about how he was a centre-back and a left-sided centre-back and a left-back and a defensive midfielder. And it's just that because Nathan Ake is so versatile and so open, it gets the best out of him. Bernardo Silva's another very versatile player. It gets the very best out of him. Sometimes his plays on the right wing is sensational. Sometimes it's not working. You put him in a deeper role and it works really well. So when it comes to Kevin de Bruyne, I think it's going to be a big season for Phil Foden coming up. It's going to be a big season for Jack Grealish. These are the players I'm looking towards. I want Man City because they've got the experience there now. Yeah, they may be, certainly in Phil Foden's case, still relatively young, but he's a seasoned professional. He's experienced. He's a proven winner. So this could be a very big, very important season there for Phil Foden. If he wants to be a permanent Manchester City central midfielder, the opportunity is there for him to grab with both hands. And if he does do that and he manages to bring a lot of success to City this season, it could just save Manchester City a lot of money in the future. English Dawn, thanks very much for tuning in. Says, City like a really small but highly remunerated squad. Absolutely spot on. Manchester City like this. Pep Guardiola, he likes the small squad. He feels like he gets the best out of Manchester City when he's got that smaller squad to work with. Builds up chemistry better. You get a better relationship between the players. You see it when they're going out partying with each other. It's not a case of one player goes out and, goes out with a group of their friends who aren't work teammates. It is very much a case that you see players sticking together and going out. Jack Grealish is a player who has an abundance of friends who aren't in football. But when you see him going on nights out and it comes to football, who's he out partying with? Other Manchester City players, because we've got that relationship, that team bond. I think Pep Guardiola is all about that team bond, that chemistry, and wanting to do well to help each other, to get the very best for the team. And doing that is a small squad, is what's needed to help that when it comes to chemistry and relationships with the players. The only downside you've got is it's a long, hard season. Every season's a long, hard season. You get injuries, all of a sudden, it jeopardizes you. And that's what Man City, I think, need to be very careful of going into this season. But as I said, we had tremendous success last season with a small squad. I see no reason why we can't have the same this season as well. And if Kevin de Bruyne is fully over his injuries by the time February comes around, he'll be like a new signing for Man City. That's scary for all the other teams that have got to face Man City in the second half of the season, that you've got a fresh, fit, raring to go Kevin de Bruyne for the final push, the business end of the season, when you get the very best out of Manchester City. English Dawn says, credit to Juan Marlilo. Glad when City get Pep Guardiola back. He's been in charge for a couple of games, a couple of wins. He's done his job. He's done a really good job for Manchester City. And it'll be great to have Pep Guardiola come back with Man City sat on top of the Premier League. And hopefully after the international break, we will have Pep Guardiola back. That's the word that I've heard. So we'll see. Thanks very much for tuning in. Says, I fancy Pedri to come in from Barcelona. I think he plays for, doesn't he? A good option there. I think the big problem you got with Barcelona when it comes to player sales, unless the players actively pushing for a move, they'll just keep referring to a release clause. And does Pedri, have they allowed that new contract? And Felcher has got a €1 billion release clause, which, it's a bit like these long contracts that players commit at Chelsea, and if it doesn't work out, you're stuck. Enzo Fernandez is a player that I'd love at Man City. He's currently unsettled and unhappy at Chelsea, but he signed a 7-year deal, which means he's still got 6 years left on his contract, which means he's worth a whopping amount of money that teams, quite simply, aren't going to pay, which means you end up stuck at a place you don't want to be at. Baffles me why people sign such long contracts with Chelsea. But there we go. Brian, thanks very much for tuning in. Says, Julian Alvarez has been playing well in that number 10 position. And it's going back to what I was saying before. There's players in the squad that are doing it very well. And whilst De Bruyne is injured, they've got that chance. The likes of Foden, Jack Grealish will put Julian Alvarez in there as well. But it's their opportunity to get them minutes, to get them starts, to showcase what they can do, because in the long run, it can save Man City a lot of money. And Man City, they need to find a way to get Julian Alvarez playing on a regular basis, because at some point in the next 12 to 24 months, if he ends up being an option to Erling Haaland, the rotated backup option, he's too good to be a rotated backup option. I don't think we'll get the best out of him on the wing. So I think Man City have to find a way to make him work through the middle. And that number 10 role could just be what we're looking for when it comes to Julian Alvarez. And rather than having him play as a deep lying striker that moves more into midfield, I'd like to see more of a 2 up top. Saw it in little glimpses against Fulham. It was very good. And if a team's going to put that low block in, having a second striker could be very useful for City. And if we like to go with that back three that we go with, I think could work really well. Samuel, thanks very much for tuning in. Says Foden will replace Kevin de Bruyne. Ronald, thanks very much for tuning in and said, have you heard Kevin de Bruyne will extend his contract when he comes back in January? Interesting to see if he does and how long that would be for. He's a cracking player. To me, if City can get him over his injuries, he's a player that could be playing well into his 30s, which means you could be looking at another 4 or 5 years of Kevin de Bruyne. It's not really how Man City do their business when it comes to players and aging. We don't tend to have many players retiring at Manchester City. I think Kyle Walker may be angling towards that. He'd be the first of very, very few. City tend to, once players get to a point that they feel like they've got enough out of them, they need replacing. City are very brutal in the market. We've done it with the likes of Yaya Toure, Fernandinho, David Silva, Sergio Aguero, Pablo Zabaleta, just to name a few. Vincent Kompany, another one as well. Man City are never scared to say, actually, now's a good time for you to go because we need to do what's best for the team. But it all depends on what level they're playing at and what Kevin de Bruyne wants to do with his future. If he's still performing at a top level and he wants to stay at Manchester City, I'm always happy to keep these players at City. We'll see. Mohammed, thanks very much for tuning in. Says Florian Wirtz would be the player that he chooses to replace Kevin de Bruyne. Some good shouts. Florian Wirtz seems to be a very popular option out there. Mohammed saying Musiala, another option coming out there that's very popular. Frankie de Jong getting mentioned as well. First time I've heard Frankie de Jong coming out there. So thank you very much to Kushagra for tuning in. Much appreciated and putting an alternative out there. Player that we're speaking about earlier in the transfer window as well. English Dawn says City like a small but well remunerated squad. Earning the money is the most important thing. I like that. Earning the money. Well, I always say, and my philosophy is, you want a good job out of somebody, they're not going to work for free. They're not sworn down to loyalty. If you want to keep hold of your biggest and best players, you're going to have to pay them the big money. And I think that's what you're seeing from Saudi Arabia that's coming out. They're paying players tax-free a whopping amount of money. And at some point, the Premier League and the rest of Europe are going to be left in the shadow of Saudi Arabia and the amount of money that's been put on offer. And at the end of the day, if you're a person that's been offered 2-3 times your salary, tax-free, to go and do the same job, it's going to tempt people, isn't it? So there's a direction here that I think European teams and Premier League teams are going to have to do something about. And I can see at some point in the not too distant future, this talk of the European Super League coming out once more so they can pound for pound match Saudi Arabia for finances and money, because they will be left behind by Saudi Arabia if things don't get addressed. And as I said, players aren't going to work for free. And if someone's coming along saying you can do the same job for 2 or 3 times the amount tax-free, all of a sudden you've got a very serious decision to make. Brian says Eze is the San Maximan of midfield. Lots of skill on the ball. Doesn't create loads of opportunities. He's not a Kevin de Bruyne replacement at all, in his honest opinion. Love that, Brian. Good comparison there with San Maximan. So glimpses have been absolutely incredible, but it's the consistency that you're looking for. And if you're wanting the big team to spend a lot of money on these players, you need that consistency. The amount of money that's been put out there for Eze, 70 plus million pound. Yeah. They needs to showcase that on the pitch, why he's worth 70 plus million pounds, rather than just, oh, he's a homegrown Premier League player who's doing very well at Crystal Palace. You need to see a little bit more. We'll see. Des Doyle, thanks for tuning in. Says Phil Foden, the obvious choice. Phil Foden, very popular. And Shaman, thanks for tuning in, saying Phil Foden, not even up for debate. I like this. Lots of opinions. I love opinions. Alex, thanks very much for tuning in. I love that. Odegaard. If you wanted a player that's skillful, that can pass and create opportunities, Odegaard's actually a cracking shout. I don't think Arsenal will be too keen on selling him. And if they are, I dread to think how much money that they'd be asking for. Really sorry, I'm being pretty slow with the comments here. Ronald, thanks for tuning in, says, have heard Man City will extend the Kevin de Bruyne contract when he comes back from January. Already addressed that one. We'll have to, we'll see. We'll see. I think City will want to see what condition he's in first. Matthew, thanks for tuning in all the way from Barbados. We've got Barbados-like weather here in the UK at the moment, 29 degrees. So if I look a bit red in the face and I start sweating, I really do apologise. It's very hot here in the UK right now, in particular for September as well. We missed out on the last heat wave, but we're not missing out on this one. And yeah, as I said, very hot indeed at the moment. Cash Chief says, Valverde at Real Madrid, very unhappy apparently. Player to keep an eye on. Of course, City have got the advantage of him being versatile, can play through the middle and can play out wide as well. Matthew asked, what do I think of Jeremy Doku's first game at Manchester City? So glimpses have been brilliant. He's exactly what I was expecting from Jeremy Doku. He wanted to prove and make a point. Looked very raw. I think Pep Guardiola is going to need to just put a nice arm around his shoulder and tell him what's best for the team, rather than looking for that individual bit of brilliance. But he's got a really good attitude. And I think that's the one thing that stood out for me more than anything else from Jeremy Doku. He is a player that wants to do well. He's got a great attitude. And if he listens to the coaches, and I think he will, I think City could just be looking at a very raw gem that's going to turn out to be a fantastic football player. I'm impressed so far by what I have seen. As I said, needs to listen to the coaches rather than just looking for that individual bit of brilliance, because that isn't how Man City work. And that's what's made Man City so successful. We don't rely on individual bits of brilliance. We have a brilliant team that if some player's not on it in one game, everybody else is. And City end up robotic and end up picking up them wins, which is always what we are looking for. I love the differences in opinions there. Hulu, thanks very much for tuning in. Says, doesn't want Martin Odegaard at Manchester City, so they can't cross the ball. And Kevin de Bruyne can cross the ball. He's a brilliant crosser of the football. We'll see. It all depends on what City are looking for in the midfield. That's why I mentioned in particular about his passing. Odegaard reminds me more of a David Silva type of player. Tight spaces, finds that space, finds that pass. Accurate pass, well-weighted pass as well. He is everything that I imagine a typical Pep Guardiola midfielder to be. And I think Pep could get the very best out of Odegaard. Is he a pound-for-pound, like-for-like replacement for De Bruyne? No, but as I was saying before, who is? There isn't a player out there that's as good as Kevin de Bruyne. There's a reason why Kevin de Bruyne is always up there in the top 5 when it comes to Ballon d'Ors, and this season's going to be no different because he is an exceptional player. Blaze, thanks very much for tuning in. Much appreciated. as well. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there for you guys because JSGC has got to go to a physio appointment in the next hour. So yeah, JSGC's on the injury bench along with Kevin de Bruyne right now. So I've got that to look forward to. So I'm going to go and get ready and prepared for that. So thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. Do leave a thumbs up. 100 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship, for any videos, or any general business inquiries. English Storm, thanks very much for tuning in. Says Premier League, yeah, it's international break. So no Man City game this weekend. Next weekend is when City are back in action. There's some international games happening. Am I going to be heading to Main Road FC? I put it in the diary. It's not for this weekend, but at some point, hopefully soon, we'll be able to head to Main Road FC. And when I do get around to doing that video, it'll be on my partner channel, JSGC Football. Link is in the description. Go and check it out. I did a special Manchester City video on there. Brilliant video. Go and check it out. That'd be much appreciated. But yeah, no, this weekend I'm going to be heading to Chester for a 1,000 subscriber special over on that channel for you guys to look forward to. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. English, don't have to worry about me. To be honest, I don't drink that much, to be honest. There's certainly worse out there than me, and I'm driving, so yeah. Don't have to worry about that. And in this heat, I fully don't recommend too many alcoholic beverages, of course. So yeah, thank everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. Keep well, everybody. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for my final Manchester City transfer update of the summer 2023 season. So I've been JSGC. Thank everyone for watching. I hope everyone's safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.